I feel worry, for the future of the children who I love and for the
Mhm.
children on the other side of the world, like what it is that we're leaving them, and also for all the plants and the animals. And it's just an amazing planet that we are live on, and we've had a lot of hard impacts on it. But, as far as like, what gives me hope, I love what Parker Palmer said, just that narrowing of the gap. Yeah. And I think that I try to like have a vision for what it is that I would love to see happen in this world.
Yeah.
And I would love to see a world where all people are nourished and
Yeah.
animals and plants are able to thrive. And that's big. But then
That's
it's like, and what can I do? What?
welcome to sorry. I don't have in my notes what I usually say. Uh, can I start that again? One more time. Welcome to a Gathering of Spirits podcast, conversations with artists, authors, poets, musicians, uh, spiritual thinkers, and people who are just making the world a better place. Today, I'm so excited to be having this conversation with Marcia Veldman. Welcome, Marcia, to the podcast.
Oh, it's good to be here. Thank you so much, Carrie. I'm looking forward to the conversation.
Me too. I've so been looking forward to this. So, for anyone who is not familiar with Marcia's work just yet, here's a little short bio, and then we'll start into our conversation. Marcia uh, founded in 2013 and is now state coordinator for the South Central Indiana chapter of Citizens Climate Lobby. It's a nonpartisan organization working to build consensus and to stabilize for climate change. Marcia managed the Bloomington Community Farmers Market for 24 years. During those years, building that farmers market into an award-winning local treasure. She is an advocate for food justice, food security, and environmental sustainability. She has worked with the Green Sanctuary Task Force, locally yielding the funding for 152 solar panels for the Unitarian Church of Bloomington. Marcia was awarded Bloomington's Woman of the Year in honor of her work for sustainable food systems. Among her many projects, she's worked with Hoosier Hills Food Bank, where she's helped establish the Meal Share Food Rescue Program, the Plant a Row for the Hungry Project, and she's been a vital member of the board of the Soup Bowl Benefit Project, which has generated over $1 million in support of the Hoosier Hills Food Bank. Marcia currently lives in Brown County, Indiana, where she has created and built a beautiful, sustainable meadowlark farm where she grows healthy foods and vegetables, flowers, and she uses earth-conscious, sustainable practice. She has gathered a wonderful collection of friends and environmental activists who work at the farm, who help her grow and harvest sustainable food and engage in soul-nourishing community. I am one of those women, by the way. Welcome, Marcia.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. And yes, you most certainly are one of those incredible women who I get to work with in the garden. And I'm so looking forward to this conversation. We have a lot of them in the garden, but this one is really taking some time to be very intentional and talking about the work that we do.
I like I said, if anyone has been reading my Substack for any amount of time, they've read posts about the farm and seen 1-inch photos of the beautiful farm that you've created. Um, and this month, for the month of November, since I'm focusing a bit on the idea of nurture and nurturing, it just seemed a perfect conversation to have with you, my friend, and someone I so admire. So tell me, you have been engaged in environmental preservation and nurture for your entire adult life. I don't know if I've ever met anyone who so faithfully worked for the care and nurture of the planet and local food systems. So, can you talk about how that began? Were you always interested in natural things?
Yeah, I think I did come by it pretty honestly.
Yeah.
Grew up working in a big garden. My parents both grew up on farms in the Netherlands, and then they immigrated to the US, and we had a large family. There were 7 kids, and so it just kind of naturally they decided we need to have a garden to nourish all these children. And and that garden was on the outskirts of South Bend, and we just had a little small patch of land, but there was some remnant forest close by. There was an old dump site where I could go build a fort and, just play in this abandoned dump. And yeah, so we all were expected to work in the garden, but, I was the only one who, like, truly loved almost every aspect of it. I would say that harvesting green beans was not for me, and we grew a lot of them.
Yeah, and green beans they flourish. There's a lot.
They flourished. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, and we would go to U-Picks and, like, pick lots and lots of strawberries and blueberries and fill the freezer at home with those so we'd have them year round, and I found all of this so enjoyable. But I would say, like, a real strong memory for me was, I would go and visit one of our neighbors who also had a big garden, Sam Northern, and he grew up in the South and he grew some different crops than I was used to seeing. Like he had peanuts and sweet potatoes, which were just like foreign to me. But then one day I was just admiring these gorgeous coxcomb flowers. They were just so vibrant, and he kinda looked at me, he's like, "Well, if you like them, why don't you grow some too?" And he's like, "Hold out your hands." And so I kind of put my palms out, and he took the coxcomb and he tipped it over, and these tiny black shiny seeds fell into my hand. And it was like a moment of realization of, like, kind of, understanding the circle of life a little better. And, yeah, prior to that, I really thought, seeds came from packets. And so, like, that awe of seeds has really, like, stuck with me over the years. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what a story. I mean, what a beautiful visual too. Hold
Mhm.
out your hand and there, putting the seeds right there. I mean, what an incredible realization. And I love that you were outside. I think both of us grew up in a time when kids were really encouraged. It's like, go outside,
Yes.
go explore. I mean, my mother had a bell on the by the back door, and when she rang the bell, we were supposed to come home for lunch.
Mm.
Otherwise, you're out there. And I don't think that happens as much anymore. The idea of exploring, you know, the the garden that you had, but just being outside, for long periods of time as a kid.
Yeah, yes. We had a lot of freedom to roam in the neighborhood as long as we were home on time for dinner and we did
Yeah.
our chores. We had a lot of freedom. And, I think that it is something that children don't have nearly as much. And I think we all like innately have a strong desire and appreciation for the natural world, but it takes getting out and being in it and having just that time and space to explore to help nurture that.
And I know that, you are very intentional about it, absolutely. You made your life, in working with the natural world and communities. I know you've worked with children, I know you've worked with adults, um, and you've worked with this beautiful farm, the Meadowlark Farm that we were talking about, and you have this long relationship with these acres, of farmland. Can you tell me about what it's like to have a relationship, a personal relationship with a bit of this good green earth?
Mm. Yeah, it has been an honor to be able to be in one place long enough to watch the trees grow bigger. That
Yeah,
for me has been such a joy. We talk about nourishment, and I just find that the landscape nourishes my soul.
yeah.
And, it's been, truly a vocation to be on this piece of land and try to care for it. And over these 30 years, I've learned a lot, and I've learned a lot from the land itself by paying attention. And, I'm not always good at slowing down, but when you slow down, there is so much wisdom to be gained. It's been, one of the great pleasures of my life to be in the same spot for 30 years.
And the soil there, for anyone who gardens, I know that when you first moved to this property in Brown County, um, that it had been overworked, that also erosion had done its work, on that piece of land. Right now, I like to tell people when I put a shovel into the ground at your farm, when I turn the soil, it looks like chocolate. I mean, it is such rich soil, and and that's been, because of your caretaking, because of your nurture and the things you learned and that you applied to where you live, right there where you
Mhm.
live.
Mhm. Yes. And it's involved applying a lot of different animal manures and cover
Yeah.
crops and hay, and yeah, it's taken a lot of years for the soil to become, just such healthy soil to grow plants in. And even in a year like this was a hard year in many ways for growing here in Brown County, but with the soil, many things continue to thrive even through the kind of tough weather conditions that we experienced.
Well, I don't know if you know, I have a song called "A Shovel is a Prayer," and it starts out, "A shovel is a prayer to the farmer's foot when she steps down and the soft earth gives way." I don't know if you know, that's about you. That's who I was thinking of when I wrote that song.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and just how, in terms of faithfulness, a certain faithfulness to this land and this relationship. And also, I learned something. I tell people every time I go out there, I learn something. It's like, okay, now we're going to prune trees, apple trees, and it's like I've never pruned an apple tree. And she goes, well, and you will very patiently say, I will teach you. And I have so appreciated that. You know, I I love the natural world, but what a joy to be a friend and to spend time with someone who, I don't know, who has put in that what is it, the million hours that they talk about, that becomes an expert, that becomes, um, a person that can share it with others in a way that allows me to take that home with me. "Oh, I know something about buckwheat now." as a cover crop that I didn't know before.
Mhm. Well, that's one of the wonderful things. I just it's such a gift to get to garden with you and the other women of Meadowlark
I know.
because
Great
I
people.
am always learning from all of you as well. I just feel like it's yeah, a place of a lot, and we're learning from each other, and we're learning from the land, the plants, and so it's so much a shared experience that we all grow from.
And it's, it is a community. I consider it one of the joys, true joys and privileges of my life to come out there, and spend time at the farm and with all the wonderful women that work there, with you. Um, and I love that it's also time that we talk about books and we talk about what's happening in the world and in our lives. We laugh. Oh my gosh, I can't remember who it was who called tomatoes the divas of of the vegetable world, and I just cracked that just totally cracked me up. But it's kind of true. They don't like it if their feet are too wet or they're too dry. They're kind of divas.
Too much rain and they split, you know?
I know, not enough rain, they're just not happy. And
They
I thought
are the divas.
"Oh, that's great." And then also these moments of awe and wonder. Um, Buckwheat is a cover crop. It helps to, put nutrients back in the soil, but it also attracts pollinators. And so when the buckwheat starts to flower a little bit, they are covered with butterflies and bees, and you walk by, and there might be this little almost like this little flurry of butterflies that go into the air, and we'll all just stop and go, "Ah, yes, this, yes." I think too, um, the idea of of "yes, this," uh, it's something that I'm so privileged to be able to come out and experience with you. But, I mean, what do you think you've really encouraged, sustainable systems and also just encounters with the natural world and relationship with the natural world for everyone. Um, there's a book that you and I talked about once, Margaret Renkel's Comfort of Crows, where she talks about she has a little 1 acre yard in a subdivision. And she has done so much in that yard to attract pollinators, to be a place that is of welcome to the different kinds of critters that inhabit that part of the world too. Can you talk about that as the you don't have to have a huge farm or a good sized farm to be able to have a relationship with the world around us.
It is so true. Yeah, I loved that book, and because I
I did
think
too.
it helped kind of illuminate that concept that, just a little patch of land cared for thoughtfully and with consideration for the other critters that we share this earth with can make such a difference. And I love uh, Doug Tellamy has this program. It's called Homegrown National Park. And the concept is if we all, care for our little patches of land by planting natives, and he's even pretty specific about natives that are like high value natives that really are good for caterpillars. And of course, caterpillars are a huge source of food for birds. And so if
Yes.
each of us does this with a little patch of land, it would be more than all of the national parks combined, the land that is available for wildlife to thrive and be nourished on. And so I do really love that concept because so often I think we think that to make a difference, you have to have like a big property or something. And it's no. You
So,
know, a few milkweeds in your garden beds can help those monarchs to thrive.
and, I think that kind of comes around here in our conversation to this idea of we're living in challenging times, sometimes heartbreaking times, and we can't do everything, you know? We can't do everything, but we're kind of called by love to do something. And and often, that comes down to this daily question of what do I love and what is mine to do today? I mean, how do you feel about I know this conversation about the was it what was the name of it? 1 Acre National Park or
Homegrown National Park.
Homegrown. I'm gonna put it
Yeah,
I'll look that up and I'll put
yeah.
a, link to it when we post this. But yeah, this idea of small things done with great love. I mean, I think that's something that, um, I've always known, uh, I don't know, an idea that I've always seen you embrace with such clarity and such commitment.
Mm. Well, thanks, Carrie. That's really nice. There's a quote from E.B. White that I just really love because it resonates so much with me. And E.B. White is the author of Charlotte's Web. And it's something like this. It's like each day I awake with the desire to save the world and the desire to savor the world. And that makes planning the day hard. And it's so
I
true.
I love that. Oh, I'm gonna find that quote too.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
one of the thing, that caring for, this little patch of land we call Meadowlark and, working in the garden, I feel like brings together those 2 things, which makes it a little easier to plan the day because can go out and work in the garden and, be doing something productive, but at the same time, you're just immersed in nature and savoring what's so beautiful. And so that's true of gardening. I do quite a bit of like invasive species management where it's like getting out and, trying to help save space for some more native plants that are provide much more and sometimes are the only things that some of our native insects and animals rely on. And so those are places where I can have a little easier time planning the day because I get to both savor and save at the same time. And, just
Yeah.
a little way where, yeah, that love for nourishment of my own soul and for nourishment of others comes into play.
And there's so much hope and power in that. I think of Parker Palmer's quote that I just love about hope. He says, "Hope is holding everything that is with everything that could and should be, and each day taking some action to narrow the distance
Mm,
between the two." And I love that. It's like this idea of savoring and saving, uh, through our daily actions, that there's so much power in that, and there's so much hope in that. So, I know you I mean, I did a short bio, but I know there's so many, ways that you have been involved, for the planet, for, people in this country, in other countries. I mean, you have just done so much with health and hunger and development and education and sustainability, um, and the preservation of this good green earth. And so I could go on forever and ever, but I just as we get to the close of our conversation, what is it in these times, and o- what is it in the natural world or gardening or working in community that gives you courage, that gives you inspiration and hope, particularly now?
mhm. Yeah, it's a hard time now. Yeah, I feel. worry, for the future of the children who I love and for the
Mm,
children on the other side of the world, like what it is that we're leaving them and also for all the plants and the animals and it's just an amazing planet that we live on and we've had a lot of hard impacts on it. But, as far as like, what gives me hope, I love what Parker Palmer said, just that narrowing of the gap. Yeah.
yeah,
And I think that, I try to like have a vision for what it is that I would love to see happen in this world. And, I would love to see a world where all people are nourished and
yeah,
animals and plants are able to thrive. And, that's big. But then it's like, and what can I do? What, and it does have to come. I think you're so right from a place of doing something that you love because that's going to be able to allow you to carry it forward for the long run. And so, yeah, if we thought like it's all ours to do, we'd give up pretty fast.
yes.
Yeah.
And I think that's so powerful that we aren't alone in this.
Mhm.
That, and there's also this idea that, um, I have certain gifts and I have certain kinds of resources, and, um, this is mine to do today.
Mhm.
The phrase I use a lot, "What is mine to do and who will go with me?" And that, every time I go out to the farm, I say, "Ah, I'm not alone in this." There's another person who's doing the most hopeful action I can think of, and that's putting a seed in the ground, um, and nurturing it. There's so much uncertainty with that. There's so much we can do, there's so much we can't do. So I find that, that it is something that, feels very empowering that each one of us, um, have these gifts. And we do have access in all kinds of ways to the natural world and ways to be in relationship with it in meaningful ways, in personal ways, and in community ways.
Mhm.
Just choosing to buy local, you know, is a major thing. Y You think, "What does it matter if I" well, first of all, it tastes better. It is, there's
Yeah.
something great about, local produce, and it supports a farmer, it supports a system. There's so much we can do each day, um,
That's
and
so true,
and
and
we don't
I
have to do it alone.
and that is true as well. You mentioned earlier that I manage the farmers market, and one of the things that I enjoyed the most with that is getting to know farmers from all over Southern Indiana. And, when you get to hang out with them over years and years, I learned so much from them and appreciated so much the value that they placed in growing food for the community.
Yes.
And also just learned how hard it is to make a living from farming. It's, yeah, I grow food and I do sell it, but it's never been my primary source of income. So, like this year, we had a really poor potato harvest. It's like, it's a little sad and I wish it was different, but I'm not like feeling financially stressed by it.
Yeah.
But I think for the farmers who sell at the market, one of the things that helps them going is that relationship with the customers. And the
Yeah.
customers be like, they work hard all week. Sometimes it's so hot and humid, and yet they're out there growing and planting and harvesting. to then have people say, "Oh my gosh, I made the best pie with your blackberries."
Yes.
And I think it's
Yeah.
just like, "Ah, yes, what I am doing is matters to not just to me, but to people in my community and to people with whom I share the harvest."
That idea of relationship, I think a farmer's market, the ways that we uh, we enter into space with one another and stay in relationship in these really meaningful and um, you know life-giving kinds of ways. It's still happening. It's still
Mhm.
happening. It can happen. We are not. I believe this. We're not hopelessly divided and there are no bridges. We find bridges all the time. Um, though sometimes they have to be nurtured, sometimes they can be challenging, but um, and sometimes they can be utterly joyous. Like, I made a pie with the blackberries. Thank you for
And
growing those blackberries.
and those 2 people in that conversation might come from very different religious backgrounds, political backgrounds. One of them's more urban, or
Mhm.
one of them is rural, and yet they are finding this relationship that's being built around something we all need to nourish our bodies. We all need good, healthy food. And so that's like, yeah, it can be
Yeah.
such a place of relationship building.
Well, I could talk to you forever about this. I have just been loving this conversation and I I actually know I'm going to see you at the farm later on today and we're going to be working on autumn crops. So, we'll continue the conversation there, but thank you so much for joining me for this conversation and I just I'm glad that folks were able to to be here with us as we talk about what is nurturing in uh, relationship, what is nurturing in our relationships to the natural world, to one another. Thank you, Marcia. I I have just loved this conversation.
Oh, thank you, Carrie. I have too. This has just been a joy. And I look forward to seeing you this afternoon.
Yes, and and we'll I don't know we'll pick cabbages. I'm not sure what we're gonna do today. I'll
We're going to be
find out.
doing lots of harvesting.
I before the first frost, okay, so I all right, I will see you there.
Wonderful.
Bye now.
Bye bye.
Thank you, Marcia.
Yay. So I'll tell you, maybe I should have said this earlier. There were a couple times where you froze on, like, but your voice carried through. But
Sometimes it will do that, but in the recording, it doesn't freeze.
good,
Yeah,
good.
there's a little bit of a interesting lag, just watching it ourselves.
Okay,
It's happened a few times but when I went to the recording, it didn't do it.
good. All right. Well, this was fun.
It was nice. I think people will really love this conversation.
Oh, I hope
I
so.
know I did. And thank you for, like, going through like, the 2 times and finding times and me trying to figure out how not to have a name on there twice and
Yeah, now
yeah.
it's we're good friends.
I'm really glad because usually it's a little easier than this. So thank you very much.
Uh,
Okay, well,
alright.
I will see you later at the farm.
See you soon.
Bye.